Hello and welcome back to the big stage, the Betting Expert preview show ahead of Euro 2020. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the squads that have recently been announced, and to help me, to join me to talk about the key talking points. Once again, I'm joined by former England international Wayne Bridge. Wayne, how are you getting on?
Doing all right, mate. Doing well. You?
Good stuff. Yeah, really good. Thanks. And obviously, I'm also being joined by Rory Jennings once again. Rory, I think you're in a good mood, to be safe to say, after United lost the Europa League final last night.
Yeah, I'm certainly not shedding any tears over that. We'll put it that way.
Great stuff. All right, then, guys. So let's get cracking with the first squad we're going to look at, and it's all our picks to win the tournament as well. It's going to be England. So obviously this week, Gareth Southgate announced a 33-man squad, and here it is in the graphic for us. So first of all, just kicking off, Wayne, what's your initial impression of this 33-man squad? What do you make of it?
It's going to be a headache to narrow that down. Strong. I think offensively, very, very strong. Obviously, with the talk of the injuries and stuff, defensively, I'd probably say we just don't know what's going to happen, really. It's just wait and see. So I can understand why Gareth has probably named so many. But yeah, I think offensively we just look great. I think we look really good.
I think, Rory, we're going to get to this later on in your little rant as well. But any major absentees or maybe key players that you think should be in that squad?
I always like the idea that football's a meritocracy. And if you're good enough, if your form has been good enough, I think you deserve a call-up. And I can't for the life of me understand how certain players have made it into that squad. But Patrick Bamford, who's had a brilliant season for Leeds in his first real opportunity in the Premier League, has been omitted. Feels very unjust.
But yeah, like I say, we'll get to that more in depth later on in the show. But over to Wayne, one of your key players. I think you wanted to highlight maybe a potential player of the tournament as well. Can you talk a little bit about Phil Foden?
Yeah, do you know, he's such a young kid, but he's just impressed me week in, week out. Just looks so comfortable on the ball. I think Pep's handled him so well, kept his feet on the ground, and like I said, he's so comfortable. He can receive the ball anyway. He reminds me sometimes a little bit of David Silva. When I used to play against David Silva, wherever he got the ball, he would always move it to a place where you just couldn't get near him or couldn't get near the ball. I think he moves the ball so well. He moves with it well. He works well off the ball. He's been brilliant, and I want England to do well. I don't want to put too much pressure on his shoulders, but for me, he could end up being player of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk a bit more in depth about that specific market in general. But I mean, just a quick question: how important do you think his goal scoring will be for England? I mean, yeah, as opposed to his creativity.
Well, I'd put Kane down as top goal. I would put Kane down to be top goal scorer, to be honest. I think it is important. You want people to be chipping in with goals, but it isn't necessarily important in like competitions like this. If you nick 1-0, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, he is going to be very important. You want him to score goals, but being creative and Kane finish them is very important.
Now, I think of us three, Wayne, I have to be honest, you're the most qualified to talk about the position of left back. So for you, who starts? Is it Shaw or is it Chilwell?
I'm sort of, do you know what? I'd have to go Shaw. I think Chilwell's had a good season. I've said before, it's not easy to come to move clubs and especially go to Chelsea. There's a lot of pressure on your shoulders going to Chelsea. And I think Chilwell has done very, very well. But for me, Luke Shaw's been outstanding. There's a game that stands out for me. I was sat with my friends watching it, and one of them was a Liverpool fan. He was complaining that Salah wasn't running at Luke Shaw. And I said, he stopped running at him because he can't get past him. He's realised he can't get past him. And Shaw's done his job. For me, he's been brilliant all season. And I know how good he was because he'd come from Stamford. Everyone spoke so highly of him. He had a little bit of a hard time, but he's come out flying.
What do you make of that, Rory? What do you reckon with the starting position at left back?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very difficult to make too strong a case for Ben Chilwell. I think Ben Chilwell has been brilliant, but there's been times this season where Marcus Alonso has played over him at Chelsea, whereas Luke Shaw has been Manchester United's standout player. I think he's had his best season ever. And when he's barreling down the wing, I think he's a really good player. And it's very difficult to see how you can make a case for anyone other than Luke Shaw on that in that position.
And we've touched on it a little bit last week as well, talking about the right back spot. So Trent potentially being a doubt. I mean, Wayne, what do you reckon about
that? Do you know what? I wrote some notes down. I got to right back, and I was just thinking it was a bit of a headache. And then I was thinking, how hard is it going to be? And I'm just going to say, do you know what? I'm going to let Gareth make the decision. But really, I'd probably just have to say Trippier. I think Trent is too good to not take. I haven't seen loads of Trippier, and people fight his case, say he can go and play left back as well. I'm not being funny. We've got Luke Shaw and Chilwell. We don't need another left back. So for me, I would probably leave Trippier because I think he's going to have to cut down. You know, look at the amount of right backs he's got, and I think Trent has just got so much ability. I think if we're against a real attacking team, he might not play Trent, but I think Trent should play. But, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I think there's still a chance he might get left. I don't know how much Gareth likes him.
Yeah, well, I had to put you on the spot a little bit there. Yeah, Rory, what do you reckon about that position, that problem position?
Do you know, I will obviously defer to Wayne. Like, it'd be ridiculous for me to start telling people about playing fullback, right? But the case I would make for Trippier, and I'd be very interested to hear Wayne's thoughts on this, the geezer's just won the league. He's just won La Liga. Are England good enough to have a player who has just been an essential part of an Atletico Madrid team that have won La Liga? Can we leave a player who is that good out?
Who do you leave out then?
I don't know, but not the geezer that's won La Liga would be my.
I totally get it, but it's not, that's what I said. I was like you. I said, how can he not go? But, you know, you're looking at like 4 right backs, really. You know, I know Walker doesn't sometimes play. We've got Walker, Reece James. You know, them two we're talking about. It's difficult. So if I had to pick one, it would probably be him. But I'm glad I don't have that headache, to be honest. Really glad I don't have it.
Southgate likes him as well, doesn't he? Do you think that will come from your experience? Does that play a big part of it?
I think
Southgate's like backed him in 2018 and all that, hasn't he? He's one of his guys.
I think so, and I don't know if you feel the same. Looking from the outside in, you'd probably say he'd probably favour him over Trent, I would have said. So, yeah, I think there is a possibility Trent doesn't go. I don't know if you agree. I'm looking from the outside in. I'm not sure how much Gareth fancies him, to be honest.
I'll tell you what, that's actually an interesting point.
That's an issue.
Yeah, for Wayne, actually. I mean, how much do you have, like, those managers' favourites when you're at international level? Like, how much of a thing is that, really? Like, the managers just prefer a certain player regardless of whether or not they've won a league or played well or what have you?
It was hard because I played where there were so many good players. I guess the only thing that stands out for me is, you know, you had Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, and Scholes always used to have to play out of position, and he probably had the ability to do it. But for me, they should have just played who was best for the formation that he wanted to play sometimes. And I think he was just getting the players in that deserve to be in there. It's a tough one. Do you know what I mean? I'm glad I'm the England manager, to be honest.
Well, let's put you on the spot a little bit more and bring up the squad again. And let's talk about some of the players that could be left out or should be left out there. I mean, which other players kind of stand out for you that obviously maybe won't go, but perhaps could if they do well in like the pre-season friendlies or the pre-tournament friendlies?
Do you know, when you say that, I'm not sure if he's already made his mind up or not. I think maybe he's probably already made his mind up. I think for those players that are on the fringes, I think they'll all keep their head down and play. But I probably think deep down, a lot of them think, you know, I know I'm not going. But it's the injury. So they are going to work hard. They're going to work and want to do well. But I just think it's all on injuries. I think he knows who he's taking, and it's just the injuries that he's got that much in that squad. I think he knows. It all depends on injuries.
And what about you, Rory? I mean, I think you've picked out some players that you think will not go for sure. Can you just reiterate exactly who those are?
I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? But I mean, I feel like somebody like Johnston, I can't really see Ramsdale, White. I think there are a fair few that are perhaps there with the future in mind. Like, I think, say the inclusion of somebody like Ben Godfrey. I rate that inclusion. I like the fact that it seems to be one that's quite forward thinking. Obviously, there's an injury to consider with Harry Maguire. It's a bit
It'll
early,
come for
don't you
him
think?
when it will come for him, but it is probably early. Yeah, it will come for him. You hear people say he could be future England captain. It's a very big statement to be saying it at the age that he's at now, I think.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'd be very surprised. Like the other one I was surprised to see there was Connor Cody. Like, I'm sure he's good. I'm sure Wolves fans are going to get on my back here, but I've literally never seen the fella have a good game.
Do you not think he
I,
goes then? Do you not think he goes?
no, I don't think he should. Like I mentioned it before, I think it should be a meritocracy, and I just don't think he's an international footballer. I think he's a very good footballer. I think he does an admirable job at the level that he plays at. But we're talking about one of the best generations that England have ever had. Like
That's what I said. We look so good offensively, and we have some good defenders. I just don't think the squad is as good as what it could be.
I'll tell you what, in your experience as well, Wayne, is like, perhaps obviously you didn't start Euro 2004, sorry to bring that up again. But I mean, how did it work at that level? I mean, did you know that you weren't going to be in the starting 11? Like, how early was that determined? Or does it just vary depending on the manager?
I think you kind of know. Let's face facts, it was Ashley Cole, so I was never going to be starting. But, there's some people that, who's he going to play on the left? It's so-and-so. But I think most of the time you know. So I think you do really know deep down. And it's, like I've said, for me it was frustrating. It's great to go to these and have that experience, but you want to be out playing. But I think they know. There might be one or two that he's not sure about and keep people guessing, but I think most of them will know who's going to start. And
another interesting point as well, I'm thinking of, like, what do these fringe players need to do, maybe in training or in those friendlies, just to show that they should go? I mean, what can they do if Gareth's mind's made up?
It's simple, isn't it? It's just keep your head down and keep trying. It's all you can do. I don't think anyone's going to be thinking, I wish I was just on holiday now rather than sat here waiting to see if someone comes in injured. I think everyone's just going to keep their head down and do the best they can. And, you try and change the manager's mind. But it is not easy. I think, like I've been there where I knew I was going to go, but I'm probably not going to start. No matter how I play, Ashley's going to start. So it's just keep your head down and do the best you can, really.
I think that's fair enough.
Wayne, do you think that Wayne? I was just wondering. Like, it just came to me then. I'd love your thoughts on it. You see, Jude Bellingham is so young, but he's also so experienced. He's played in a Champions League semi-final. He's played in a Champions League quarter-final. Do you think that we could take somebody of that age? Do you think it'd be a good idea to have somebody like that around, or do you think that he's just too young and you can't rely on somebody of that age?
Look, I don't know him personally, but if I look at Wayne Rooney when he was young, do you know what I mean? Certain people can carry it and handle the occasion. So I would not say no, you can't take no one at that age, not at all. I think it all comes down to the individual and if they can handle it. And if the manager thinks they're big enough and they can take it and handle that pressure, I think. So I don't think age should come into it, really.
Cool.
Fair enough. But let's move on. Last week, Rory actually predicted that France would make it to the final. Wayne actually predicted that France would make it to the final. Let's have a quick look at the France squad. And Wayne, do you still believe that France are actually going to go all the way and take England to the final?
I've got to agree with it. I've said it now, haven't I? Do you know they've got a good squad? I think they've got on paper, they've got a great squad. So for me, yeah, they can. I think they can, definitely.
You got Benzema back as well. Yeah,
that's what I mean. As soon as he come back, I went, yeah, they could go all the way. That's what I said straight away. As I see his name on a bit of paper, I was like, they could go all the way, but get beat by England in the final.
How about you, Rory? What do you reckon about France?
Yeah, they're a very intimidating force, aren't they? It's quality throughout. I think that purely on paper, in terms of the squads, I think their squad is the best. I think first 11s, it becomes more of a debate. I think first 11s, you start looking at Portugal. I think you can make a case for England as well. But in terms of the squad, in terms of quite how gifted they are, I mean, the case study that proves it is when you think about who's on the bench for their for their keeper. Like Hugo Lloris will start, I imagine, as he's a captain. But the guy that won the European Golden Gloves is on the bench. That's how good they are. That's how deep their squad runs. So, yes, anyone who draws France is going to be fuming.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to your prediction, Rory, I'll get this right this time. You've gone for Portugal to get to the final. Now, obviously, some massive names in there as well. But can you talk about why do you think Portugal have what it takes to go the distance in the tournament?
I just think that they have so many good players. You know, when you think about the players that have been standout in the Premier League this year, whether it's Cancelo, whether it's Diaz, whether it's Bruno Fernandes, whether it's Bernardo Silva, they are just brilliant. And then this is the point, I think. It gets to the stage where there are lots of gifted teams around, lots of gifted countries, and you could make a case similar to the one I've just made. However, Cristiano Ronaldo, with a point to prove, Cristiano Ronaldo with a chip on his shoulder. It hasn't been his season at Juventus. I think unfairly, a lot of stick has come his way. He's a phenomenal talent, outrageously good when he hasn't got a point to prove. But Ronaldo with a chip on his shoulder, I feel like that is enough to carry them all the way to the final.
Now, interesting bet. We're going to look more in detail at the individual players of each team, but Ronaldo is at 11-10 to be the top team goal scorer for Portugal. Diego Jota is the next one, out at 11-2. So obviously, if Ronaldo or if Portugal score any goals, then let's say it is going to be Ronaldo. Fernandes out there at 8-1. What have you made of Fernandes this season and that disappointment he had in the Europa League final last night?
He's an impeccable player. He is a borderline flawless footballer. And I don't quite buy into this.
Too good for Man United. Too good for Man United.
Do you know what, though? There's a narrative, isn't there, that says, where does he go during the big games? Where is he? Is he a big game player? I don't subscribe to that at all. I just think he is pure class, brilliant. And that spine that the Portugal team have, it kind of goes probably Patricio, Diaz, Fernandes, Ronaldo. I mean, that's not bad, is it?
Not bad at all. But yeah, you raise a good point there. I want to put that to Wayne, actually. Those players that can perform for their clubs in the big finals, I mean, how much of an impact does that make on international tournaments, in your view?
Oh, it's massive, isn't it? It's kind of like when he talks about Ronaldo and Portugal, it's kind of like, feel like it's written in the wind now, don't you? You feel like it's going to happen. It's massive. Do you know what I mean? They just walk out on a big stage and they love it. They come out with a bit of swagger, the attitude. Nothing really affects them. Some players can be affected by the atmosphere and the big stage. These players, they just thrive on it. And I absolutely love it. Being at Chelsea and the players I used to play with, one that stands out for me was Drogba. He was just always there for the big occasion. Just loves it. I know it wasn't there just for the big occasions though, but they do love it. They'll always perform. But yeah, they just love it, and it's great to watch as well.
Yeah, good of you to reference the name, the big stage as well there as well. Now one team I know that maybe Rory is actually predicting will not do very well in the tournament is actually Belgium. They're third favourites at the moment. But I mean, Rory, taking a look at their squad, which players are the kind of weak links? Why do you think they won't deliver on the big stage?
Well, I think the reason that they won't deliver, I think when you think about some of the defenders that are still in and around that team, is Vermaelen and Alderweireld. It's a team that was good. Like those two players that I've just mentioned, they were good a decade ago. And I feel like it could have gone a little bit stale for them. But the reasoning that I have for not giving them a chance, I like Belgium have absolutely no chance. And the reasoning for that for me isn't actually anything to do with the players. I just think that Roberto Martinez is incredibly limited. And he's one of those managers, he seems to be a bit of a hipster's choice. People seem to rate him based on, for me, almost nothing. It feels like a smoke and mirrors job. I mean, people celebrate the job he did at Wigan. They forget that he took Wigan down. They think he did quite a good job at Everton, but Evertonians, I know, will tell you he's one of the worst managers they've had in the Premier League era. And I just don't get the Martinez facade at all. I think he's average at best.
That's a bold shout. Wayne, what do you think about Belgium?
I was actually thinking about them yesterday, actually. But I couldn't go for them. I just thought some of the players they have, I just couldn't see them flopping. That there is some good players there. But yeah, I was actually thinking about they could be a flop. There's a possibility, but I just thought they were too good for me to say that, to be honest.
Fair enough.
I get where Rory's coming from a little bit.
Yeah, the team that you have picked out to maybe flop or not do as well as maybe some would expect was Spain.
Yeah.
So we'll bring them up. But yeah, just talk us through maybe why they are going to underperform. Obviously, no Real Madrid players, no Ramos.
Yeah, the Ramos thing and everything. And look, they've still got some good individuals, but I don't think they've improved much since Russia at all, to be honest. I just don't think they've improved. So that's why I just went for them. I don't think they're improving or going in the right direction. So that's why I just went for Spain in the end.
I think that's a fair shout. Rory, any thoughts on Spain?
No, I think that leaving somebody like Sergio Ramos out is wild, absolutely wild. When you think about what he brings, what he guarantees, so shocking. Because what he guarantees, he's a proven winner, and I think having people around like that in a tournament, it's just worth its weight in gold, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd liken that to kind of Thiago Silva coming in at Chelsea, wouldn't you? He just helps people around them. He's got that so much experience. I was shocked when he wasn't announced.
Now, for me,
also,
look,
any striker is not going to want to play against Sergio Ramos. I'm sure that is a factor. You know, if you're lining up against Spain, you'd much rather not see Sergio Ramos and see him there, imposing, handsome self. You don't want that. So I think that they've missed the trick not having him there.
Obviously, we're going to say Spain forward line. I mean, are they that strong at the moment? I don't see it myself. Another team I'm expecting to underperform as well is Germany. I feel like, some of them are just a little bit past it, like kind of what you mentioned as well, Wayne. For me personally, I don't see them doing particularly well. I don't know what you guys think about Germany.
Well, it'd be nice to see Timo bang a load in and come back and do it for Chelsea.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see.
Might fly.
It will come.
I mean, I'd like to see the same thing, but do you know what, Wayne? Hearing you say that, it does actually make me laugh in a way. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because obviously you've been around dressing rooms and obviously played for Chelsea. I am beginning to think that I'm the only person in the world who doesn't see it. Everybody I speak to about Timo Werner, they're like, oh, it'll come, he's going to be good. I just don't see where that's coming from. Do you honestly think? Have you seen enough to believe?
I think we definitely live in hope in terms of it coming. But he's like, I hate, because you want him to be scoring goals. It's what you want him to be doing, and it isn't coming naturally. And I think he does look nervous in front of goal. It comes to him. I think you can see the nerves. He slashes at balls. Look, he's a great player. Defenders are scared of him when they run at him. He's got the ball and he's running in behind. But when he gets in front of the goal, I think he's scared of the goal. But it could come. You know, when Didier was at first at Chelsea, he didn't hit the ground running. But I can understand how you feel. You're like, well, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? When is it? It has to happen soon, because at Chelsea, you're not going to get many more chances.
Totally. And do you know the thing that scares me as well? I've never seen anyone miss more sitters. You know, sitters.
It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. I mean, I remember sitting in the studio watching one of the games, and I was just like, he's in. And he's one-on-one. And then you're like, do you know what? He needs something to come to him where he's having a snapshot and not have too much time to think about it. Get a few of them in, and then it'll start coming. But I've said that for quite a few weeks now, and you're
going to be saying that in another 18 months' time.
Yeah, don't know. You might prove you wrong next year.
Yeah,
mate, well, look, if he scores against City, I reckon we put a statue of him up. So
there you go.
That's it. It's all forgotten, isn't it? I mean, we'll talk about that actually briefly. I mean, obviously Champions League final on Saturday. Just cover quick predictions for the final, Wayne.
It's gonna be a tight game.
This is the Wayne Bridge derby, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you know, it's been a headache getting out there. I'm actually going out there. It's been a right headache sorting it out. Do you know what? I think it's going to be a tight game. You know, I've been asked this. I haven't sat on the fence. I've said Chelsea. I spent more time at Chelsea. I probably had a better time at Chelsea. So I'd like them to go and win it. I think it's going to be a really tough game. I think it's going to be tight. I do hope they nick it. Again, I know a lot of people at Man City So if they do go and win it, I'll be happy for them. But obviously, I'll be a bit gutted. I'd love to see Chelsea win it. But it's going to be tight, and that people think it's going to be a bit of an easy game. Chelsea have been poor the last few games, but they'll be right up for this game. It'll be, the teams that they've been playing recently, they probably don't play. There'll be a lot of changes in those teams. I think they'll be right up for it. They're one-off days. They don't come around often. I think whoever wins that game is who deals with it right mentally up here, who handles that big occasion and handles it up there the best. I think they've both been good defensively. Both not playing with like number nines, really. City with a false nine. We're not firing all cylinders up front. It's going to be one in midfield. And I think that'd be a battle of who can handle it in the mind the best.
Yeah, I tell you what, when Werner misses that sitter again in the final, that's going to make my Germany prediction look pretty good. But anyway, moving on to actually, we've got some outsiders as well. So I've given the guys a challenge of picking some outside bets, and both of you curiously went for Italy at 11-1.
Oh,
so yeah, I personally have gone for Denmark.
Great
minds indeed. Yeah, personally, I've gone for Denmark as an outside shout. I think they'll be solid defensively. They've got obviously a lot of teams will have some kind of home advantage. They will be playing in Copenhagen, and also a little side note, I actually live in Copenhagen, so I'll be supporting Denmark a little bit as well. But I want to go into that Italy squad. So why do you both feel that Italy could be a bit of a dark horse in this one? Start with you, Rory.
Well, firstly, they're Italy, and I'm conditioned to believe that whatever's going on, whatever sort of run they've been on, they're Italy, and they are serious when it comes to tournaments. They have the capacity to turn it on, and I think that will happen. Also, I think it's a little bit of a myth. We all seem to be under the impression that they aren't playing particularly well, and it isn't quite the case. I think since Mancini's been in there, they haven't lost a game since 2018. Like, they literally are unbeaten since 2018. So I don't really see why they're seen as being such outsiders. And I also think that part of the reason that people aren't giving them much hope is because they haven't necessarily got that like obvious superstar that they've had over the years, whether it's Roberto Baggio in '94, Del Piero, whatever. They haven't got that guy. But their midfield is mustard.
I feel like you've just read my notes out.
Their midfield is mustard. Like, when you think, well, I don't know whether it's Barella, Pellegrini, Verratti, Locatelli, they're really solid. I mean, I purposefully, by the way, didn't say Jorginho because I don't rate him at all. But him aside, I think there's no reason why they aren't capable of turning it on.
So yeah, I won't throw to you then, Wayne, if you're going to just repeat everything that Rory said.
I think the main thing I put was they've got no real big superstars, and the expectations aren't, there aren't too many expectations of them. And I think the way they've gone about qualifying's been really good. I think they've been, like you said, they've been great. And like you said, Italy, they do so well in competitions. So for me, it was a no-brainer. It was easy.
Fair enough. And I think the last nation we're going to bring up as well is another home nation. So we're going to bring up the Scotland squad. Obviously, they're in England's group as well. Big outsiders to do anything. Now, guys, we spoke about it last week. England shouldn't have much to deal with when they face this team. But is there any players here that stand out for you as potential replacement if you could? Like, would you rather have some of these players over any England players? I think I'll start with you, Rory, on that one.
I've got to be careful here. I came in for a lot of stick recently. But no, I don't think one player from that Scotland team gets anywhere near the England team. And I genuinely think that the England under-21s beat that Scotland team.
I think that's fair enough. But you did have one best bet from that, though.
You're making me feel that you disagree passionately with me. You're not on board with that, Joe. No, Joe seems to be like very tentative.
I ain't saying
about
nothing. I've had enough stick off Scottish fans before. I ain't saying nothing.
No, Rory, one of your best bets was actually involving the Scotland team and one John McGinn. So yeah, you can talk about him perhaps being top team goal scorer for Scotland.
Yeah, I think John McGinn could easily be the top goal scorer for Scotland. And I think that's really good value. It's about 6-1, isn't it? Which is solid. But the reason that I think he will do that, exactly, because they could score one or two, and he's likely to ping one in from 25 yards, a consolation. So I feel like it's logical that he will be the goal scorer of their goal.
Yeah, well, that leads into one of my... It's all right. It's all good. That actually leads on to one of my bold predictions as well, is that Scotland will be the lowest scoring team in the whole tournament. I've got them at 10-1 for Scotland to be the lowest scoring team. Obviously, yeah, if John McGinn scores one and it's their only one, then both of those bets will be, or could be,
Best
a
score
winner.
more than one. Best score more than one.
We'll see. So yeah, let's just sum up some of our bold predictions for the tournament. Wayne starting off with all home nations to qualify from the group stage. England, I think, yeah, they're guaranteed to go through. 1-33, it's not really worth looking at. But you can get the double on Scotland and Wales, just shy of 3-1 on both of those to go through. Spain, for Rory, not qualifying from the group. Big shout there at 12-1. And like I say, yes, for me, Scotland, the lowest scoring team. So that wraps up our bold predictions, and I know, Wayne, you need to leave us right now. So first of all, thanks a lot for your time, and we'll see you again next week when we talk about the individual players.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Wayne. And now moving on, we've got a little bit of a special rant from Rory Jennings. Let's get into it.
See you, Ray.
So, Rory, we did touch on some of the players that were absent from England, but I feel like you've got some hot topics on you want to get off your chest. Over to you.
Yeah, the person really who I feel most sorry for in what's happened over recent days with regard to the England squad announcement, it's Patrick Bamford. I just can't see a world where he hasn't done enough to make a 33-man squad. I think the way that he plays as centre forward is slightly different to anything else that England have at their disposal. It's a different option. The fact that Bielsa seems to rate him so highly, the fact that he can press from the front, when England hopefully find ourselves in a fairly privileged position and are winning, Bamford will lead the line of the defence. I think he's very, very good at what he does. He's an excellent option. And when you look at some of the players that have been called up, it feels fairly performative. There's no way that Ben White deserves to be there and Patrick Bamford doesn't. I think the thing that makes it fairly obvious, I think people get slightly overcomplicated when they look at football, but a really easy way to look at who deserves to go is you get a list of the Premier League goal scorers and you flag the English top two. Surely they go. The first one's Harry Kane, he's there. The second one is Patrick Bamford. And for the life of me, I can't really understand how he doesn't make it into a 33. When it was the original squad size, I think I could have fallen on my sword a bit and say, okay, I understand why he's not there. But in 33, in an option of 33, I just think it is ludicrous and potentially harmful to England's aspirations in this tournament not to have Patrick Bamford in contention.
I think that's a great shout. The fact that, yeah, he is the second highest English scorer in the Premier League. I mean, yeah.
I also think we should make an honourable mention here to Fikayo Tomori. Now, when you think about some of the defenders that have been included, there is no way that they've had a better season than Tomori. The thing that sort of resonates with me, and I imagine it will with most people watching this, when Paolo Maldini is celebrating you as being AC Milan's best defender, when Paolo Maldini is singing your praises, I don't understand how Gareth Southgate can't acknowledge that. If Paolo Maldini tells me you're a good defender, you're a good defender. And for me, the fact that he has also been overlooked in favour of giving people what feels just like an opportunity, almost just a taste, because there's no way that Godfrey is going to go. Whereas I feel like Tomori could genuinely have gone. So for me, again, it makes no sense. But what I need to be careful of doing here is I'm not going to be getting on anyone's back. As I said last week, full, passionate, partisan, aggressive support of Southgate. But for me, there were two glaring omissions, and Tomori and Patrick Bamford doesn't quite tally with what I think England are trying to achieve.
Perfect. Great summary. And maybe take off the Chelsea tinted glasses a little bit, perhaps with Tomori. But yeah, let's see what the people say in the comments. It'd be great to get your input for those watching. And obviously, if you do want to get in touch with us, then hit up on Betting Expert Twitter. So at Betting Expert, use the hashtag #TheBigStage. We'll try and feature your comments and questions in future episodes. Next week, we will be going in depth into the individuals. And beyond that, we'll be looking at the first round of fixtures before getting into the Euros proper. Rory, I just wanted to say thank you again for your time, for joining us on the big stage.
Oh, you're joking, Joe. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Great stuff. And of course, if you do place a bet, then as always, we do ask you that you please gamble responsibly.